Well, it's pretty remarkable that your first attempt, you get in and complete the Barkley Marathon, right? You're one of 15 runners, I believe, that have ever completed this in a 36-year history. So let's talk just a second about training. I mean, I know there's so many variables, so many unknowns to this specific race. And so, I mean, what did an average week look like training-wise to you? Are you running a lot of miles? Are you training specific for nutrition or sleep deprivation or maybe just walk us really quick through what a week looked like training for this event.
Yeah. So the physical training is one part of it, and on this specific part, so it was depending on the week. But to say average, let's say I was running about 100 miles a week, average. I think sometimes 130 miles, sometimes 70 miles. It depends. It was about 20 hours of training during the week, average. Sometimes it was 15, sometimes it was 30 hours. So it depends. And I was focusing mostly my training on elevation gain, doing a lot of repeats on the mountain or doing a lot of elevation gain, big volumes. And it was
we've got to talk about that for just a second. This race has 63,000 feet of elevation gain and descent. To me personally, I think that most people think that one of the most challenging races there is the Hard Rock 100 in Colorado. I mean, it's high elevation, which is different, right? This is more low elevation. Yeah. But that race in and of itself in 100 miles has 33,000 feet of elevation gain and descent. So that's an average of 320 feet per mile of climbing. Whereas this race, according to my estimates, has 485 feet climbed per mile. So it's got to be one of the most steep races for, distance in ratio to the distance, right? I mean, that 63,000 feet of estimated elevation climb, because I know we don't have actuals on this, right? It's estimated to be 130 miles and 63,000 feet. But that to me, that I don't even care that it's 130 miles. I only care that it's 6,300 feet of elevation, because that's so much more challenging than just 130 miles. I mean, there's guys out there that could run 130 miles in daylight hours, right? From start of the day to the end of the day, they could probably finish that. Yeah. Versus 63,000 feet of elevation climb. That's a totally different animal. So, I mean, that to me is gotta be, I don't know, is that priority one? I mean, is that the hardest aspect of this, do you think? To me, from the outside, on paper, that seems like one of the most challenging things, because yes, there's navigation. Yes, there's the duration and stuff, but from a physical standpoint, that's got to be probably, to me, priority one, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It will be actually more priority two, to my point of view, because what you didn't say in this description, which was quite accurate, is the terrain. This is very steep because it's off-trail terrain most of the way, and it's not on-trail, which is why it's steeper than other races. And the off-trail terrain is quite challenging, because every foot you put on the floor, you have to be careful to not twist your ankle and to be fast enough, let's say. So it's an off-trail terrain, which is quite challenging because we're not used to that. We used to run on trails. So I think this will be the first aspect, to train on off-trail terrain, which is what I did in the past several months. And on top of that, because this is off trail, it's a lot of climbing. And exactly what you said, my training was focusing on the climbing, and this was the main numbers I was looking at. And the off trail, you cannot really put a number in front of it. It's difficult. But as you said, climbing, you can put a number, and this was my main goal every week. In average, I was doing about 30,000 feet of elevation climbing, up and down. Up 30,000 and down 30,000. That was my kind of average, and I was stopping at 34,000 feet per week on my maximum. And it's a lot of climbing, and you have to do that to be familiar with it during race time.
Well, and I remember from the last time that we talked, one of the things that was really fascinating is that you would go to the Grand Canyon and hike it 4 or 5 times in a weekend. And so for those of you that are familiar with the Grand Canyon, this, what Aurelien's just saying is that would be like the equivalent of doing the Grand Canyon 8 times in a week, bottom to top, down.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that is, I mean, that's a lot of time. I mean, just like you said, that's like 20 hours or more per week of just running, just exercising. But obviously that's also a lot of speed to be able to do that. Absolutely incredible.